In sports, the scoreboard doesn't tell the full story, but Netflix does. Stories about dads who happen to be world-class quarterbacks and a battle for the heart, soul, and direction of the multi-billion-dollar business of F1. Whether you're a diehard fan or you're brand new, Netflix has the stories for every type of fan. You can watch these incredible sports stories like Quarterback, F1 Drive to Survive, Untold, and many more now on Netflix.
Welcome to the Scarlets Supporters Pembrokeshire podcast. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Scarlet Supporters Pembrokeshire podcast. Westerer is Besterer with me, Lee G. Joining me as always is Big M. How are you, Martin?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. How are you?
Yes, yeah. I had a really nasty bout of toothache over the weekend, and sod's law. I was knocked out for large parts, like in 2-hour blocks, 3-hour blocks. I'd just completely gone to sleep. Woke up just before kick-off in the Wales game, was wide awake for the Wales game, and then fell asleep after. I mean,
that sounds perfect.
Oh, it was poor timing, mate. I watched the game and then I went back to sleep. I think I might have preferred to just wake up for the last 5 minutes and go, oh, that's what it was then, and go back to sleep. But yeah. So how was your viewing experience of the Wales-England game?
Dreadful would be polite. I mean, it is just shocking to watch. I mean, we are talking about professionals of 10 plus years. You know, these boys have been essentially professional since the time they were 14 years old, and they don't know the basics of, you know, run in between the defenders, you know, pass behind you, don't bloody hog a ball. It's just basic things.
I was looking at it, and you know, I think the problem is there were so many little bits that you could have picked out. You know, the kicking, the passing, rucking, support play. You know, you can go. There isn't like one thing that you could say, oh, if we just tidied that up, you know, if we were just a little bit better at that, we'd have been fine. It was a whole raft of small issues that, like you say, when you're at national level, you shouldn't have to explain to people about going into, if you're going to go into contact, don't go in with one person. Make sure you've got somebody there with you when you seal off, really well. The amount of ball we lost on turnovers, the amount of times where we had players in space, then we didn't pass, and then we kicked, and we had no chase. Yeah. You get to the point where you go like, what's the point?
Yeah, it's like I got no issue with the kicking. I know a lot of people have complained that it's boring. That's just the way the international rugby has moved on. The fact is, we've got no chase, and the kicks are so poor. You know, you make them contestable. You have a good kick chase, and you know, you've got a game on your hands. But when we're needlessly giving the ball away to a back three that basically catches ball for breakfast, you know, it's not going to go anywhere.
And this is what we said when that squad was selected, that we are going to, you know, it was a squad that was selected on the, you can see by the types of players that they have to kick and chase and put pressure on the catcher. And we're doing the first bit, we're kicking, but like you say, the kick's going too far. The kick chase doesn't seem to be communicated with two of the best wingers in the Northern Hemisphere, certainly. And then we're not putting any pressure on that kicker, and he's going, thank you very much, I'm going to run it back 15, 20 metres, you know, every time. And it just beggars belief that we weren't able to change tactics. Nobody on that pitch went, let's do something different. And the one time we did do something different, where Thomas Williams took a tap and go and caught England napping, which he did. You know, he ran that ball 30 metres, but the first man on his shoulder was Ken Owens.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I think I've heard that before. Um, no, it is concerning. I mean, you can go brilliant how Hooker is up to speed, but then you look around and go, where's everyone else?
Yeah,
You
he
know,
was
that's
running
what
down the wing.
there's no problem with having a front rower being a support player, but the fact is they shouldn't be the only support player.
Yeah, there was nobody within about 7 or 8 meters of Ken Owens. Yeah, you had Thomas Williams got tackled. There were about 5 English players around, and then Ken Owens, and then no, it was inside the 15. One of our wingers or the fullback. That's your territory, son. That's where you live. Put up a tent, because that's where you do your business. And there was nobody there. Just really frustrating that. So many basics. Just so many basic stuff. That we've gone backwards. Yeah.
It is a massive go backwards, and it is due to the changing coaches. It's like I didn't expect it to be this bad, but you always have that sort of niggle when new coaches come in, new ideas. I mean, we have basically thrown out the entire playbook and said, okay, we're going to start with this, and it's as though players are just too afraid to go out and do what they normally would do. They want to stick by their new book. They want to keep their places. And, you look at our forward pack, we don't have a lot of big carriers in there. So that means we need to play quick ball. We need to live off counter-attacking ball. And there's just no go in any of them. No one is reacting. No one is wanting to go forward and try something.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the balance in our back row, and you've got Tipperick, who's a lovely ball handler in space, but can't jackal. He had 1 turnover in the whole game, and it was an important turnover, and everyone went, yeah, great, fantastic. But actually, England gifted that turnover because it was quite near our line, and they did what we did. They went with a single player, fell at his feet, and he went, thank you very much. Me and you could have turned that ball over. I mean, we wouldn't have been on the pitch. We'd have been gasping for air on the sidelines. But,
I don't know. I think I would have been by our try line the whole game, just in case.
I'd have been in the bar. But do you know what I mean? It wasn't for an international 7, that wasn't a difficult turnover to execute. Whereas Rafael and Jack Morgan come up with stuff and you go, wow, holy cow, how did they get that? And that's the ball that our forwards need to work off. They need to work off that quick turnover ball where you've got athletic, strong players running into space, and giving those Sam Lousy flicks and giving the Fafita, sidestep and go and all of that kind of stuff. We've got those kind of players. We're just not creating the space in which those kind of players can express who they are and do what they need to do. So it's very frustrating. Frustrated, yeah. I think that's how I describe it. Frustrated.
Yeah, well, let's just look at the track record. We've had 2 record losses and the worst loss in the millennium for 20 years. It is so deflating. It breaks your soul sort of watching it and realizing what's happening. But then you turn the other page and you look, let's try and look positively. We have got a few young boys in there who are doing well. Joe Hawkins has been fronting up. Yes, he's not the usual, crash ball style 12, which we've been used to for over a decade. But, chances are, he's going to move to 10 at some point in his career. And when we look at the forwards, we got Darryl Jenkins and Chris Shunzer, who are doing pretty well considering they have minimal experience, even with Exeter. They are fronting up, and these boys are doing well. I think we could probably do with a back row with Jack Morgan and Ravel in there, but it's a case of working out how to balance it. I mean, would you be willing to try Shunzer at 8? Is it worth dropping Falatau? Because as much as he didn't really perform as great as he does against Ireland, he really showed up in that game on the weekend.
Yeah, and I would like to see Shunzer at 8. Like, he's got the size, he's got the pace, he's got the bulk to do what you need we need somebody in that back row, whether it's somebody at 6 or somebody at 8, that can take a heavy ball forward, that can take a short tight pass off 9 in an emergency and drag 3 or 4 players in and hold the ball up long enough for support to get to them, make 5 yards, down, ball on the floor, and then out. You need a player that you can kind of rely on, like the Scarlets use Callum Mahoney. He is the give it to him, crash ball, and we know that we go from that ruck there and we can run at a 35 to 45 degree angle for 5 meters and hit the next ruck, and then we'll create quick ball. We don't have that kind of player in the back row with Wales or in the second row. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And we desperately need somebody that can give us a guaranteed platform that you can build a game around.
Yeah, and it's not even just saying it's all the forwards' fault. The set piece is crumbling, and something that we've seen, that Parker Scarlets over the last couple of months certainly, is that when we get a decent ball off a line into the scrum, we are trying things on first phase, second phase, and they're working. And they don't seem to be any inkling of them even willing to try to do something like that.
Well, I don't understand how Ken can throw 100% accurate at the Scarlets and then can start missing stuff at international level. I haven't seen him miss this many lineouts. And we've spoken about it before. It's a combination. It's the thrower, the jumper, the lifters, the protection, all of that kind of stuff. But I've never seen it done that bad with Ken throw it in. It's just, I don't know. It should be a pretty basic thing,
Yeah, and one thing everyone who's played the game, especially in the forwards, if your lineup is struggling, where do you throw? You go front ball, you just get that ball, you keep it safe. And we're not even doing that. No. It's like, if you can't win a middle ball or back ball, go front, go quick, just secure it and get it out. Don't waste around trying to set. Just simply walk in, jump, get it out.
Yeah. Or do something different. We've seen Wales have got a different line out where nobody's looking and somebody nips at the front, or we split a 3 and 3 and drop it in the middle and stuff like that. And anyway, it'll be Italy next. And you're just, oh Lord.
Rome is because I know they haven't won, this Six Nations, but Rome is becoming a bit of a fortress. I mean, they ran France and Ireland, the top 2 teams in the world, really close. I mean, 1 or 2 things change in those games, and they've walked away with wins.
Yep.
The only positive I can say is their star player, I can't say his name properly, Capuzzo. Yep. He's out injured. That's the only positive I can say going into that game.
What a mess. What an absolute mess. Well, we'll talk about Italy next week because we've got some domestic stuff to talk about.
Yes.
But before we move on to Scarlet stuff, so we haven't we purposely avoided it last week so we could talk about a fantastic Scarlets win against Edinburgh. So let's talk about the goings on in Welsh rugby at the minute, mate. And go on, off you go. I'm going to put my feet up for 5 minutes. The floor is yours. Off you go.
The floor is mine. I don't want the floor. I really don't. It is as bad as the loss was against England and the way we're playing. It's even more embarrassing if you look into the background of everything that's happening. I mean, we've got players being offered, like 15-16% of the current contract. I mean, it's absolute disgusting. I mean, I'm all for cutting costs and making it more sustainable, but you don't do that in one quick draw. You do that over the space of 5-10 years. You phase out all the much bigger paid players, and you just only increase, your current players by a moderate amount. You don't let them get to that sort of level. But to see that, they're expecting squad sizes to drop down as low as, 33, 36. it's just not doable. You know, you think, look at us last season. I think we had an injury list of 22 players at one point. I
Yeah.
mean, you do that with a squad of 36 players. You haven't even got a match day 15. No, it's just not going to work. I mean, the minimum number in my eyes for any squad should be 46. You can put 2 match day squads out there, and you work from that. But I mean, when you're thinking they're going to be having at least 10 players less than that, it's just not going to be good. And obviously, Dwayne Peeler's come out, Nigel Walker, as you know, run his mouth a bit and saying, contracts are going to be signed, not signed, but at least offered this week. And yes, contracts are going out there, but it's not because the WRU are making sure they're going out there. It's the regions, it's their benefactors are saying, okay, we'll make sure this money is paid until this deal is signed. And okay, yeah, the WRU, they will give a little bit of money to keep you afloat, just enough to keep you afloat. They won't, give you any money to invest in anything. It's just so ridiculous that we've had 0 official funding for a season that started 10 months ago. It's terrible.
And I think it's having when you put it in the framework of all the other stuff that's going on in the WRU, the stuff about governance, stuff about sexism, stuff about racism, you put it all together,
everything.
Yeah, and you put it all in there, and you go, how did that organization get to a stage where it is this bad? Do you know what I mean? And the bit that, and I've said this for many, many years, and I've been kicked out of clubs for saying it. I've been told that my attendance and my support services within the club are no longer required because you stand up and say something about the culture. You stand up and you say something that actually this isn't right. What the way that the club is being run, the way that the area, the county or whatever is being run, and you put your hand up and you say this isn't right, and you get booted. You go, right, because, and this comes right from the WRU, and this is why I don't think people understand how deep and how wide this particular river is. Yeah, it's people think that this is like a little stream that's trickling through the WRU of a few bad people making a few. But it's not. It's a culture that runs through the WRU from the top right down to the lowest clubs. Yeah, and even within those smallest clubs, you still have people in those smallest clubs that don't want women in the club. Yeah, it's a small minority now, and it's better than where it was a couple of years ago. But you still have people in those clubs going, no, the only women in here should be waitressing behind the bar and stuff like that. Yeah, and I've been told that before. I was told to get out of a club when I said we needed a women's team, a girls' team, and we needed to do something now because my girls were finishing. They get to that age where they cut off. And there was nothing in between under 13s or under 14s or whatever and senior level. So we need an under 16s or an under 18s, somewhere where these girls can go and continue to develop. So don't go encouraging women in this club. And absolutely ridiculous. And the culture of bullying within Welsh rugby, forget the WRU for a minute. Within Welsh rugby, that culture of bullying, and whoever's in charge of the club or in charge of the county or whatever it is, there are too many people that are in that position and have been there for a long time because they're a good guy and they do a lot for the club or they do a lot for the county or whatever, but they're not there because they're any good at their job or they're any good at doing that position. They're there because a few of their mates said, you go do that and I'll scratch your back and you scratch mine. And it's got to stop. It's got to stop because it's ruining the game from top to bottom, and it's players that are getting the shafted end of it.
And you can add to that as well. I mean, if you talk about our clubs being the base of everything, I mean, if you look at any committee across any of the clubs, how many of those committee members are under 35, are under 40? You just don't see it. There's no way for a younger person to say, look, I love this club. I want to help this club. Let me come and lend a hand. Let me share my ideas and whatnot. And when you talk about, women not being allowed in clubs and stuff, you just look at them and you shake your head. And okay, historically, yes, it has been a male-only game, but historically, men have always been the ones working. Who are the ones who have been bringing these boys to training every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, being there on a Sunday? It's the women and the mothers who are there taking these kids to these games. They are the ones who are responsible for us having international players. Because yes, the fathers love rugby, but 90% of the time, the fathers are up working and they can't take them. It's the mothers who are taking them and driving them forward and telling them not to give up.
But it's an attitude that has run. It's an attitude that says, I'm in charge and I'm right, and you do as I say, and there is no there's no pushback. That's why the players got to the bit where they went on strike, because it's come down and it's gone, we're right, and you do as we say because we're in charge, and no issues, no conversation. No, nothing. We're right. You do as we say. And they're now in a position where the players are going like, actually, no, you need to listen. There needs to be a dialogue. There needs to be more of a two-way street with those players and with the regions. Yeah, I think that confuses it as well with, you've got players at international level going on strike. And you're like, well, who are they angry with? Are they angry with the WRU? Are they angry with the regions? Are they standing up for the regions against the WRU? Are they standing up for players against the do you know what I mean? It gets really, really confusing. So yeah, the WRU have got a lot of issues, and that is right the way through the game, and the Scarlets are feeling it as much as everybody else is. So
yeah, everybody's a part of this same system in one way or the other. And as much as us as regions are separate entities, we are very much under the WRU fold. So, this needs to be looked at every region as well as every club. Because even though we've only heard of it from the WRU side of things, there's undoubtedly things going on within the regions. Some comments here or there, whether or not they've been taken care of or not. Things do need to be looked at on a total basis across everywhere.
And I don't think that this is anywhere near the end of this particular saga in Welsh rugby.
This is the beginning.
Yeah.
We've just opened the first chapter. We haven't even got out to the first chapter yet. And this is a 4,000-page book. We're going to be here for a while. Yeah,
and if you're in Ireland now or in Scotland, you must be sitting there and just laughing and going, "Come on, boys, come on! This is Wales are the new Italy. There's a couple of guaranteed points every time we play now. It's for a nation that used to be so proud of that game and so at the cutting edge of that game, it was a Welshman that took that game professional. It was what was his name? Vernon. Was it Vernon Pugh that did it? I think he was in charge of the what's become the IRB at the time, and he was the one that pushed and signed to get the professional game in place. And I don't know. We haven't seemed to grasp. I think we keep trying to copy what other people do. We tried to copy what we did back in the 60s and 70s when we were great. And we're not actually sitting there and going, right, okay, what does Welsh rugby need now? what does Welsh rugby, as a whole, where are the issues? Where are the problems? How do we go forward? It's firefighting the whole time.
Yeah, like there's no issue with copying other people's models. It's just a fact of you don't copy 100% of it. You take what you want and then you add your own bits. And it's just there's no looking towards the future. There's no foresight there. There's no thinking, okay, what situation are we going to be in if we do this in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time? Is this affordable? Will we have this player numbers? Because we can go all the way back to 2003 when regionalism came in place, and they didn't properly look at the pathway system, because that is what has brought this on now. They say we don't have any middle 20-somethings. Well, that middle 20-something player is who would have been starting playing around 2003 to 2008 when regionalism first came in. We didn't have a proper pathway system there. And, even now, so many boys are getting lost. I mean, I'm hearing stories out of academies where boys, some of the best boys, just because they're not in the right school or, they're from the wrong village, they get shafted, and they say, no, we don't care if you're the best in your position. I know this boy, I work with him 3 days a week, he's staying, you are not. It's just not right.
And that's what I mean by, we don't know how. I think we underestimate how deep the culture of Welsh rugby is within clubs, regions, whatever. And it's going to take a long time. I think we will come out of it in a better place. But I think there's a lot of people that are involved in the game now, and people who've been involved in the game for a long time are going to have their noses put out of joint and are going to have to step to one side because actually the way we need to do things now is different. We have to move on. And too many people who are too powerful that are not there for the interests of the game and for the players, and I've seen that at every single level, within the game. And I know that. No, I'm going to not say anything. I'm going to be quiet. So anyway, there's a lot of work to do. It won't be the last time we're going to talk about the WRU and the regions, mate. So let's move on to the regions. Before we talk about the Munster game, let's talk about how the contracts. Who do we? Dwayne has said this week that he's got 20 players out of contract at the end of this season, and he's expecting to retain 10 of them. So I don't specifically know who is out of contract, but what's your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I don't know if that 20 includes Blade, Callum Affoni and Sebastian, who are already confirmed leaving or retiring. But we just look at the squad and we think of who's likely to go, who's likely to stay. I mean, I think Halfpenny's going. He's been here 6 years now. I think it is. That's probably the end of his contract, and the way it's going, he's not going to be offered even a quarter of the money he's on. So I can see him going over the border, maybe Bristol, maybe Bath. It's a World Cup cycle, so I think maybe Mickle might be going back. He might head back to New Zealand. If he doesn't get picked in the summer, that's going to be the end of him, because he's not going to be around for another World Cup cycle. And he has said when he won his first Welsh cap, that's what he wants. He wants to play in a World Cup. Yeah. I mean, we go into the centres. I think Scott Williams is still contracted for another year. I don't know what these contract talks are with Foxy. I don't know if he's out. Some of the rumours I've heard is that Patchell and Hardy are both leaving, and they both head into another Welsh region down east. I don't know if it's the same one. They could both be going to Cardiff Dragons. They could go to one each. I'm not sure. And then we come into the forwards, and I can't imagine Tom Price staying around, because he's been here a couple of years again and he's not used. And into the front row specifically, Wilgriff John, he hasn't played much for us. He's been here a few years. His contract could be up. We could see Samson Lee retire. I mean, that's always an option, which I hope we don't see, because I do want him to get back onto the field. And then we look over to, Luke said, Phil Price is still contracted with us. So he's probably likely to go if he's out of contract. And, Wyn Jones might be looking to pick up a payday now. I know he's got the farm and everything back home. But, he can take care of that if he can go away and make, bloody 400k for a season for 2 years. He's not going to turn his nose up at that. And we've already heard the rumours about Elias leaving, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Ken going either if he's out of contract.
Ken? You think Ken would go?
The money. If he's out of contract, the money situation's got to be, a massive pull. Just because I would imagine, he's in the current bracket. Yeah. The 250 to 450 bracket they put up for the Lions players last time. He's in that. And I can't imagine him getting, the same this time around. And he's not going to be featuring in every single Wales game anymore. If Dewi Lake is fit for the World Cup, then I would imagine, Ken is probably going to be benched for a couple of those games, maybe 1 or 2 starts. So he's not going to be able to pick up the international money that they're saying is there.
Well, Gatland has said that Ken's his captain to take him through the World Cup, and then there'll be a change before the next year's Six Nations. That's what he said. So it's a restart, but it's I'm thinking people like Lozana is probably someone who is a decent player, but is likely to be on quite a hefty sum. I mean, I think the back row is about to get an absolute hammering. I wouldn't be surprised to see Gareth Davis leave.
I think Gareth Davis has still got a year left in his contract.
Has he? Okay. I think it's people in that kind of bracket that are at the, he's still a superb regional player, but he's not at international level anymore.
I wouldn't say that watching Thomas Williams on the weekend.
I was going to say, but then you look at what we put out last weekend and you think, well, maybe. But I think we've got class coming through in at scrum half, and I think that's where you roll the dice. I think you go with Dane Blacker and those two, and you free up whatever cash you can by offloading Kieran Hardy and Gareth Davis, and the same goes for Patchell. If we take Patchell out, and Costello, I think they move heaven and earth to keep Costello, but then you go right, okay, Costello. Let's say you stick with Costello and Dan Jones. Who's your third backup? You need somebody there.
Yeah,
and you have to run in 3 front rows, so that's 9 players. That's 9 of your 36. Where you cannot run without 3 front rows. So you've got 9 players. So you've now got, let me do the math, 27 players. Yeah, and you've got 12 positions to fit those. That's 2 for each, plus maybe 3 utility players. That's not a lot.
Yeah, well, you're probably looking at a World Cup squad. What we see in the World Cup is what we're likely to see in the regions going forward. I mean, moving on from people we expecting to leave, there are, Dwayne has said himself, he is hoping to see a couple of sign-ins. And, based on what we got with Carl leaving, I think Fafita is going to be a mainstay at 6 now. So, I would imagine we'd be looking to bring in another lock. If Patchell is leaving, we're probably, we have got Josh Phillips and Tal Reese in the academy, but I don't know if either of those boys are up to standard already quite yet. So we're probably looking at another 10 coming in. And then Sam Wainwright is on loan, and, as far as I know, he's hoping to make that permanent.
Yeah, he's not on loan. He's on a 1-year temporary deal. So he's got nowhere to go back to. He's got nowhere to go after. So if he doesn't land a Scarlets deal, he's a free agent. The whole thing is just poor. When we talk about academy players, so what I've been told about academies now, and this is Scarlets and another region, that academies will become more of a holding place for players ready to play. It's not a development tool. It's not a development location anymore. If you're an academy, you essentially need to be ready to fill in the third man, if you like, the third outside half, the third inside centre, the third fullback will be an academy player. And so if you're going to be an academy, you need to be rocked, bulked, and ready to play. And that'll be okay for this season and maybe next season. But then where's what happens after that? Because that's your academy players and our senior players. Where'd you go then?
I've got no problem with academy players being lined up, as your third option in the backs, maybe as back row as well. Because I know we've seen Luca Giannini at 18 play this season and he's doing it. But if you're talking front five forwards at 18, 19 years old, being drafted in to play against the likes of Tag Furlong, it's just not safe.
No.
I don't care how big, how strong these boys are. You need a couple of years' experience of going against men, not kids your own size, kids your own age. You need experience against men before you can be put in that position. No problem with the backs and the back row, but front five forwards, no way. I mean, David Jenkins and Christians, I think, are exceptions to the rule. You're probably not even looking at regional level till you're at least 2021.
Well, this is where I think the whole of Welsh rugby is missing a trick with the way, even with Louis Rees-Zammit, they came through Bucks League. Yeah, same as Ewan Shenton. So Ewan Shenton should come into the format next year as well. And
same as Alex Donbrandt.
Yeah. And I think that's the way it's going to have to go now with academies. Academies will essentially be an extension of the first team for players who are match day ready. Yeah. And the bulk of what we now class as academies, that work will now go back to colleges and universities. But this is why I was reading between the lines through the season, the amount of work that Trinity are doing to up their rugby program, and the Scarlets are helping massively with that. And I think that is where the future lies. Same with Swansea. I think a lot of players will just be told, go to Swansea, or go to Trinity, and that's essentially, they will develop young players. They will take on the young players, and because you almost can, you've got time to do your skill work, you've got time to do your fitness work, you've got time to do your S&C work, and you're getting an education at the same time, and you've got a regular weekly competition. I think that's where academies now have to go. I think that'll be certainly for the period of this contract, this 6 year or whatever, that's the only way we're going to develop serious players for the future is through Bucks and universities and colleges. That the college system that we've got at the minute doesn't work.
It only runs for 3 months.
Yeah, and it's we can say about so and so's come through, so and so's. We are not developing players the way that they need to be developed in that college system at the minute. And
the colleges only really look at boys under 18 as well. So we need that 18 to 22-year-old where they can go on. If we do go universities, they play on a Wednesday like the colleges, so they can play their game on the Wednesday and they can still be fit and available for the weekend with the Scarlets if need be, and then have the week off from college. So there's workloads can be managed that way. It's not as though oh, you're not playing for the college this week, and then Scarlets saying, oh, you're not in the matchday 23. They're not losing matchday fitness that way.
And I just say, if we are going to lose 10 players from the senior squad this year, I say it's like you were saying earlier about, you're now seeing the effects of regionalisation, and that those first kind of 5 years that were lost where we didn't really bring anyone into the game. We didn't say, this is your pathway, this is how you go through. We're in danger of doing that now with academies, where we shaft academies now. So, we've spoken before about, my boy is in that. My boy is going to England. My boy's now going to stay in England. And he is not the only one. He's in a rugby college in England, and his college first team is made up of 13 Welsh players, and of those 13 Welsh players, 10 of them are capped at under 18s. So, there's a load of quality in there, and the feedback we're getting already is most of those players are now going to go and play in England. So be under no illusions that, what you're doing now, what the WRU are doing now, is already having an effect on players coming through for the next 4 or 5 years.
It's like, I got no issues with our boys going to the likes of Clifton, the likes of Hartbury, going down to Exeter, these not quite border schools, but, close enough. And there's no reason why a shed load of boys can't go out, because, the less players that we have to focus on here, means that we can build a couple more up. So if we got 30 boys, in England getting the quality they need, then we can work on getting 15 per region here, So we're talking, instead of just 60 players, we're talking 90 players, which can be a good thing. What we need to watch out for is, since the under-20s ruling is gone and it can no longer be a capture rule for nations, we need an A squad back, just so that when these boys are turning 20, 21, they've done the last year of the under-26 nations, we take them on a summer tour as Wales A, and we keep them in Wales. We cap them for Wales A, and then we keep them. Otherwise, we're going to lose our best boys. I mean, I know he's not technically Welsh, but is it Harry or Henry Arundel who's playing for England?
Yeah,
he's got Welsh eligibility. If the XL program was working properly, at 20 years old, we would be capping a shed load of boys from England in the Wales A squad, just to make sure that we got them as options in the future. And yes, you could say, they're not Welsh born, they're not Welsh, blah, blah, blah. That's not how the game works anymore. You can't just, look at Scotland. How many of their players were born in Scotland? Yeah, I think it was like 10 of their players were born outside of Scotland in the last matchday squad. You've got to work with what you've got. And if we're not producing enough here with the pathway in the 4 regions we got, we're not. We need to look outside of that.
And I think when you register for academies now, one of the questions that they do ask is, what's your nationality eligibility? And, if you're writing down there, I'm Welsh, but my granddad was English and my grandmother was Scottish, then your college feeds back to the Scottish Rugby Board and the English Rugby Board and said, by the way, there's an eligible boy here. So it's one of those things that I think we're not going to find out about for the next. I think we're going to have to go through 2 seasons of, players coming to the end of their contract and just kind of a shakedown at the end of every season, and who finishes bottom of the URC. That's what it's going to come to. How close to the bottom of the URC are we going to finish? And then we're going to have a gap. We'll probably have like 2 seasons where everything settles down, and then you'll start having this gap of we haven't developed players to come through. That gap's going to come in about 4 or 5 years' time, where the players that are now should be coming through the academy development system are going, nah, nuts to this. We're off. And when you take in the players that we're now going to lose, we're going to lose a lot of quality players who will be around other players. And it's not just when you talk about someone like Ken isn't just the player that appears on the pitch. Ken and Foxy, because they're the two that I know that do this, but they will go around and talk to other players and encourage other players and spend time with other players. It's almost like having another coach, another mentor. It's like having somebody else around to say, here's how you can, have you looked at your game? Let's have a look at your videos together. Let's sit down and have a coffee and talk through your game. That's the role they play within the club. So you now take that senior level of players out, and I don't know how you now expect regions to move forward. We are, at the Scarlets, we are going to lose a lot of intelligence out of the club in the next 2 to 3 years. Guarantee it.
Well, I think that's enough of that.
We said we were going to try and make it a positive one, mate.
We're about to move on to positive. We're going to talk just Scarlets rugby.
Let's just
rugby.
And this is why I said we could do it last week. When the positives are there, let's just focus on the positives. And it's been a tough old couple of weeks. So Munster, Friday night, away in Munster. Ooh. How are you? Are you excited by this?
I'm really excited. I am bouncing for this game. This game and the Sharks game at home, which is next.
Yeah,
I know we got Breathe in Europe the following week, but these two games I'm really bouncing for because these are going to be markers for how far we've come.
Yeah,
and I know Munster had a massive victory over the Ospreys. Was it 58-3?
Yeah.
But I watched that game back, and a majority of the tries came from lack of defending, lack of effort, which is not something that we have seen from our players since probably October time. We've got that work rate, we've got that attitude in there now, and I think especially the way our attack is developing now, and Dwayne Peel being freed up and Lee Brackett working in there alongside has done massive wonders. Hope to God he stays.
Yeah.
But, we are developing better. We are scoring tries off first phase. We are, breaking teams down. It is brilliant, and I am fully expecting us to go out there and do Munster over.
Well, do you remember, not even this season, I think it was last season, where we played Munster at home? I think it was quite early in the season, and they came with basically a second string side. I think it might have been a Sunday game. And the Munster second string absolutely took us apart. They put like 40-odd, 50-odd points on us.
Yeah, it was last season. It was 43-13.
Yeah. And so you look back at that game and then you look at this game and you think, actually, this is how far we've grown now. This is, the defence feels solid. At the minute, that defence feels solid. It's still going to take a while to be 100% confident. And I think until we start playing Munster, Sharks, Leinster, Ulster again, until we go through those big teams and we start putting in a performance against the big teams, we're not going to know how good we actually are. Yeah. I think when we played the Bulls, I thought that was just massive. That was a huge confidence boost for that. So if we turn in anything now against Munster, I can see that really kicking on to the end of the season. And it's an important game in the URC, but it's also an important game in the development of that team,
because they're not all, not senior players. They're not all established senior players. I mean, we're still talking Costello's first season being number one.
Mm.
We're talking Joe Roberts. He's finally had a run of games.
Mm.
We got Ryan Combia. He is now firmly established as a proper regional player and should well be an international at some point soon. And then we look into our forwards. Morgan Jones has been fronting up massively these last couple of games. I've been really impressed with him. And, we got young Carwyn Tuipulotu and Ben Williams, who made his debut in the last game. We've got a good, solid core of under 25s who are leading us forward. It's not as though we're talking of a team of mainly 27 to 32-year-olds. We're talking a youngish core who are developing fast, playing good rugby, and it's boding them well for the future. I mean, looking at our front row for the future, I mean, even if we lose our top four front rowers, we lose Wyn Jones, Ken and Elias, we lose Samson. We're then talking Kenzie Matthias, who's been outstanding, and Stefan Thomas, as you said. Like Sean Evans, David Hughes, and Taylor Davis at hooker, none of them have taken a backward step.
Yeah.
And then we've got Wainwright and Harry O'Connor as our tight heads. And, these are all, mostly pretty young boys. I know the hookers are a little bit older, but they've had Ken and Elias to face where they're not going to get a shoe in.
Yeah.
But, we've got young props and young in terms of, front row hookers to keep us going for a good 5 years. And this is just really, really positive going forward. And, I can look at the stats, I can look at the negatives, I can go, oh, well, you haven't beaten Munster in Ireland since the final, bloody 6 years ago. Well, you've only beaten them once since that final. Well, that doesn't matter. What matters is this game this weekend.
Yeah.
And
I think you throw into that mix as well, Dan Davis, and then you've got what's his name coming back from injury? McLeod coming back from injury. And you go, actually, with McLeod coming on for the last 20 minutes, Dan Davis doing what he does for the first 60, and then McLeod coming on and doing what he does for the last 20, we're going to win a lot of ball, and we've shown that we can score tries. You've got someone like Dane Blacker running the show in the middle there with Costello outside him. And all of a sudden, like you say, young team starting to develop, and you go, yeah, this is starting to actually feel really good. Even some of the oldies, like Steph Evans, on his Zimmer frame out on the wing, he's in some of the best form that he's been in for years now.
He's breaking try scoring records everywhere. He's doing awesome.
Yeah, and you just think, it is actually starting to click. And the concern is who have we got beneath that first 15? Let's say Ben Williams coming through, Eddie James, really good to see Eddie James scoring that try. The bit I liked with Eddie James scoring that try is his first contact was a nightmare pass, and he got absolutely broken into, and it didn't faze him. He got up and he went, give me the ball, and going at him. And he had a couple of decent runs, and then he had a chance to run to crash ball over the line. Superb, just the way it should be.
That try, I want to really pinpoint. If anyone can look back and look at that try, is something that we've spoken about. Is your ABC of rugby, your agility before contact, is stepping before the tackler. He takes that ball. The first man is directly in front of him. He steps literally no more than 2 meters away from him, and he walks straight past him.
Yeah,
that is what you need to do. You need someone like Peter O'Mahony is one of the best in the world at doing it. The way his footwork is before contact, and Eddie James done it impressively. So if he doesn't do that step, he gets tackled and with 3 meters from the line.
Yeah,
it is what it is. He makes that step, and he's missed the first tackler, and then you've got 2 people on diagonal runs trying to stop him, and he's not filled out yet. He's still only 20, but he's a big boy. He's like 6'4" and like 15, 16 stone. He's going to put on another stone and a half over the next 2 years in old man muscle, as I was always told it would be. You got your kiddie muscle up until you're about 20, 21, and then you get your man strength, and that's only going to make him even more dominating.
But the bit I liked as well was the way everyone kind of came around him and celebrated with him, and they realised, scoring a try on your debut after you've just been, broken into, it is quite special. It is, and it's something you only get to do the once. You only get one debut by definition. So for him and Ben Williams to have, a really, really decent debut, I was delighted for him. Really, really delighted.
I don't think it was just that with Eddie. He's been on the bench a few times this season, and he's been itching to get on, and he finally gets on, and he takes a massive hit, like you said, and he gets back up and says, "Is that all you got?" And then he just waltzes over the line. It's brilliant.
So hopefully we'll see quite a lot of those players this weekend, and I think we'll probably see this is how it's going to be going forward now. Do you know what I mean? We'll start to see, with the best will in the world, Dwayne will already be thinking of, who am I developing for next season? Who's going to stay? Who's not going to be here next season? And if you've got somebody who's not going to be here next season, is there any point in putting them on the park? There's two ways to it. Do you make the most of them while they're here? Or do you go, right, I want to develop another player for next year? So it's a difficult one.
Yeah, you alluded to it earlier, someone I completely missed in Thomas Lozana. And I see him every time I go down the park, on match days. He's there warming the boys up in the extra 7 match day players they got to warm up. He's always in amongst them, but he's not involved in the match day 23 anymore. So, is that a sign to come? I love Lozana as a player. I mean, if we can get him on the money that's right, I think he's a brilliant player to have because, he is a very dominant carrier. But at the same time, if he is off and we've got Dan Davis playing so well, we got Fafita really taking that 6 shirt and having a laugh with it. It's a no-brainer, really. We've got to stick with who's going to be here.
But I think that's how the rest of the season will go. And then there'll be, if it's a nothing game, I can't see there being a nothing game. Maybe the very last game of the season where it's not going to, then you chuck in everyone that's going.
I really don't think we've got any nothing games left because I think we need to win all these games to stand a chance to finish top of the Welsh Shield. And the way the Cardiff and Ospreys have both been going, there is now a legitimate chance of us finishing top. If you would ask me a month ago, are we going to get into the Champions Cup through the Welsh Shield? I would have said no. Cardiff have imploded, Ospreys haven't kicked on in the league. We've got a real opportunity here to try and get back to the top.
And I'm just thinking now, last game of the season is Judgment Day, isn't it? So, not even throwing them in on the last day of the season isn't going to work. It'll be interesting. So let's have a prediction then for the Munster game. Let's not forget, Munster are talking about RG Steinman making his comeback again. I think he played against us the last time he had a comeback and he lasted about 10 minutes and his knee went or his calf went or something. So yeah, how are you seeing the game this weekend? What's your score?
My score, I think we're gonna punish them. I think they're gonna be in the exact same mindset of when they finished off at the Ospreys. These Welsh boys don't tackle, they don't want to do it, and we are gonna come at them. And I think they're gonna struggle. I think it's gonna be something about 26-10 to us.
I think if we they did a lot of damage with the Ospreys off the back of a line out and in tight to scrums. I think if we sort those two out, particularly if we sort it out in the first 10 minutes and they run that first one and you go bang down, turnover, thank you very much. I think we will run away with it. I think we'll put bonus point on them. And it all depends on that first 10 minutes. So much of it is how they come out the door. And if we can catch them cold, bearing in mind they'll be at home, they've got a massive crowd behind them. It's how we cope with going over there and, are they going to come out cocky? Are we going to come out all firing? Are we going to be too cocky after we've got, 6-7 wins on the bounce or whatever. So I'm going to go with 32-15 to Scarlets. Come on, the boys. Yes, I'm feeling positive. I found me positively. 32-15. Yeah, that's my score. That's where we're going. Lovely. Cool.
Finally, we got some happiness out to you. It's taken like an hour and 9 minutes, but we've got some happiness from you.
Right, let's take it right back down to the other level and have a look at the championship and do some predictions for this weekend. So,
okay, let's have a look.
So the first game up is Narberth against Neath in the championship. Best one in the world,
Yeah. They don't come much harder than, Neath and Pontypool at this level. And, it was a very encouraging performance earlier in the season when we went to the Knoll. But Narberth have been on a bit of a downward spiral. And as much as I'd like to see them come out of it, even if they do come out of it, I can't see them beat Neath.
Yeah. It's a hammering. You're on a hammer into nothing on that one. So you may as well go out and enjoy the game, play the game and enjoy it. But yeah, I'm giving that one to Neath by 20, 30 odd points probably on that one. So down into West 1. So who have we got? Aberystwyth, Vellinvoyle.
Yeah, repeat of the 13-all draw, early in the season, Aber on a bit of a downturn at the minute. But, I would say Aberystwyth at home should take this.
Yeah, well, they're in 5th and 6th in the table. Yeah, Vellinvoyle in 5th, Aberystwyth in 6th, but Vellinvoyle have got 2 games in hand on Aberystwyth. But like I say, it's at home, so yeah, I'm going Aberystwyth win as well. I think they'll take them on that. Yeah. Crymych and Gowerton.
Yeah, Crymych, they won in Gowerton early in the season. They're on a massive run. They've, at home as well. They should be taking this. They should be winning by a good score or 2.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I know Gowerton in 3rd, but then they've got they played 2 games more. So yeah, I think that'll be a decent game. That one. Newcastle, Emlyn, Gorsainen.
Yeah, Newcastle is going to be. I can't see outside of Crymych, Emlyn and Llangennech in this league at the minute. It'll be interesting once they all finally start playing against each other, but I don't see anyone else touching them at the minute.
Yeah, and I think the Newcastle, Emlyn, Crymych games, they're the key ones. They're the important games. So yeah, I'm same with you. Emlyn win on that one. Okay, Pencloud at home against Pembroke.
Should we be positive here? Should we say Pembroke are finally going to break their duck?
Pencloud are one off the bottom of the table. Pembroke are bottom of the table. Mm-hmm. Pembroke are on negative points at the minute because they've had points deducted. So, I don't think Pembroke are going to be challenging for promotion this year. So,
but at least they're not getting relegated. That's the positive we have to look at.
Are they definitely not getting relegated now?
Definitely not getting relegated. I finally got, some confirmation on, all the promotions and stuff. And the only, I think, relegation is happening in one of the North divisions. So we don't have to worry about that down here at all.
I think Pembroke would quite appreciate being relegated. I think they'd quite appreciate a spell in Division 2. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Well, I'll be honest, the way that the championship is definitely now splitting into an East and a West, 2 12 division teams. 3 teams are being promoted from this league. So, that means 3 teams from Division 2 are going to come up. So, Pembroke have got a chance to be a mid-table and push on.
Yeah. Anyway, are they going to win on Saturday? Yeah, Pencloud. I'm going to go Pembroke. I'm going to go Pembroke to sneak it by 1. Just because at some point they've got to. And then finally in Division 1, Whitland against Hendy. Hendy are one place above Whitland. They've had points deducted as well. They won one more. Neither of them are having a great season, let's be honest. But
yeah, but I just look at the result early in the season. 64-35 to Hendy. Even if it doesn't really play that much of a bearing, you look at that and you think they can't lose. Even if they're traveling away, I'm gonna have to back Hendy, unfortunately.
Yeah, me too. It's unfortunate, but there we go. That's the way life is. Okay, so to West. We've got Fishguard away in Nankeredig.
Yeah, it was a really close game last time out. There was only 1 point in it, 2019 Nankeredig. And I want Fishguard to do more. I mean, anyone who wants your team to do better, obviously they want you to win more games. But I think Fishguard, there is a chance here to try and get an away win on the board. So I'm going to go for Fishguard.
Yeah, I just think, Nankeredig second in the table. They've had a decent run. They seem to be hitting their form. And Fishguard are still very up and down. When we spoke to them at the start of the season, they knew it was going to be an inconsistent season because they've got a very small squad. So a couple of injuries here and there, and they know they're struggling. So I'm going to go with Nankeredig on that one, unfortunately, just because it gives me something to go against you with. So,
oh, that's nasty.
Yeah. So next, really, really tough game. Milford away in Ponta Delais. So Ponta Delais top, not lost all season. Milford won from bottom, won 2 games all season. So
yeah. There's no escaping this one. It's got to be a Ponta Delais win. Let's just hope for a good performance from Milford.
Yeah. And something that they can build on for next year, hopefully. Okay, next then, really interesting game. Tenby and Kidwelly. So Tenby in 4th, Kidwelly in 5th, but Kidwelly have got 4 games in hand over Tenby.
Yeah, this is a bit of a grudge match. The game early in the season, it was 27-26 in Kidwelly and Tenby were so downhearted at that loss because they were in a good position up until that game. So I reckon they're going to come at this even stronger, and I think Tenby are going to take them.
Yeah, and I think it's good for the game, and it's good for Tenby. They need to play these kind of games where it's going to be a bit niggly and it's going to get a bit tasty. There's going to be a bit of handbags in this game. We know that. But they need to come through that, and they need to play the game, spin the ball, and play to their strengths. So yeah, I'm going for a Tenby win on that as well. And I think that'll be quite a good game. Right, I do. I think that'll be an interesting game to watch on that one. Okay, so dropping down into the depths. Oh, it's dark. It's dismal. Division 3. So let's start with Cardigan at home against Aberaeron.
Yeah, and I got to stick with Aberaeron. I know I've spoken about them, having a topsy-turvy moment, but I think they're going to get things back on track now, away to Cardigan.
Yeah, and I think the structure of the promotion in Division 3 is different, isn't it? Because it's the winner of each league, and then the best second place out of 3A and 3B. I think that's how it works.
Yeah, it's really weird because you'd think, why not just stick them in a playoff? It'd be easier. But the way things are going, it's going to be 2 from West A, 2 from our side, because Lampeter and St. Clair's and Larne, they've just gone next to no losses between them, and they're picking bonus points up for fun. Whereas you look over into West B, and I think they're something like 10, 15 points behind. So I would have thought the 2 places would be coming from West A.
But then Aberaeron, see, they're in 3rd place. So they're only 1 point behind St. Clair's, but then St. Clair's got 2 games in hand. So interesting, all to play for, and I think because of that, Aberaeron, and the fact that they should just beat Cardigan anyway. But yeah, for me, that's an Aberaeron win. But it'd be interesting to see how that table plays out at the end of the season. Next, then we've got Haverfordwest at home to Neyland.
Can't see nothing but a home win here. I've been really disappointed with Haverfordwest this year. I did back them to go on and win the league, but I haven't quite managed those expectations. But winning at home to Neyland, it should be a shoe-in.
Yeah, well, Neyland are 1 place above them in the league, but Haverfordwest have got 2 games in hand, and there's 5 points difference between them. So, a Haverfordwest win really closes that gap and makes that a viable option to start pushing on and going up. A Neyland win, and it kind of finishes any hopes of achieving anywhere near promotion for Haverfordwest. So I think it's an interesting game. I'm going to go with the Haverfordwest win as well, just because I think they've got more to play for than Neyland on that, in all honesty. Next, Lampeter are hosting Pembroke Dock Quins. So Lampeter, top of the division.
I would love to say Quins could do it, but it's not going to happen. Lampeter are taking this all day.
Yeah, that's a tough one, but it's got to be a Lampeter win on that one, especially the distance involved and all of that kind of stuff is. And Lampeter's always a tough place to go to anyway. So yeah, Lampeter for me. And then we got the Battle of the Stripes. Our 2 favourite teams, Langham and St. David's. In Langham, I'm not sure what the St. David's away kit is, whether it's yellow with black stripes or black with yellow stripes. So yeah, I'd be more interested. Genuinely, I've never seen the St. David's away kit. Never. So
it's inside out.
Yeah, we play in skins for the second half. So yeah, Langham and St. David's. What's your call on that one?
Yeah, I've got to back St. David's, but I love Langham. I've never been there. I've never been to the rugby club, but I love them. They're a tiny little, what did you say, 2-street village. Yeah. And they put out a rugby team, and they've got a team in the youth knockouts on the weekend as well, which we'll come to in a bit. Mm-hmm. But no, St. David's, they're gonna win this. I just can't see anything other than that. I'm really sad.
Yeah, but I think St. David's need to play their part here, and it needs to be a fancy dress visit to Langham. Bees, yeah, you've got to go in yellow and black, something in yellow and black. But yeah, St. David's win for me there as well. So then we've got Llanybother hosting Larne, which, again, Llanybother are 3 from the bottom. Larne are 4th from the top, but I've got games in hand over Aberaeron. Oh, when these games in hand start unraveling, it's going to be really, really interesting to see where this goes.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think it's going to finish something like St. Clair's, Lampeter, Larne. I think that's how it's going to go. I mean, obviously, this is just one prediction, and the 3 of them have only played 10 games, so they've all got 8 left. So who knows what it's actually going to end up like, but that would be my prediction. St. Clair's to go up in first and Lampeter in second.
Okay. So you're predicting a Larne win?
Yeah, Larne win. Nice and simple.
And me. And then St. Clair's versus Tregaron.
Instead of predicting who's going to win this, the earlier game this season finished 69-0. Will Tregaron get on the scoreboard?
It's hard, isn't it? It's hard because they're playing a well-drilled team, decent players. It's a St. Clair's win, like you say. I can't see Tregaron getting on the scoreboard in this one either. I'll be honest.
I'm going to say they're going to get 3 points, and that'd be a move forward based off the last game.
Cool. Okay, so that's all the divisions done then. So who else have we got? So we got Langham in the Youth Cup this weekend. Is that this weekend, did you say?
Yeah, we've got quite a lot of youth rugby. We'll start with with the community side as we are. We've got Narberth in the Youth Cup. They're travelling to go Signan. We've got then Crimich in the Youth Plate. They're away to Bargoed. And then down into the Youth Bowl, we got Langham up in North Wales in Dychlechau. And we got Whitland travelling to Mumbles. So, all 4 teams away. But, all 4 still fighting for some knockout glory.
Yeah. And best of luck to them, because it's hard enough getting a youth side together nowadays, let alone, getting one on the pitch and holding them for a season. So, yeah, good luck to all of those boys for the weekend. I'm not going to make predictions on those because I don't know enough. I know enough about Narberth, but I wouldn't know enough about anybody else. So, yeah. I mean, you can if you want. I'm
going to back for all 4 away wins. Why not?
It would be nice to see. It would be nice to see.
And we do have to give extra credit to Langham by year. They are heading to North Wales. Already said they're a true 2 Street Village team, and they're travelling to North Wales in a youth game. That's unreal.
Yeah, absolutely. So, best of luck to everyone playing and supporting the youth boys on the weekend. Send us some photos because it's always good to see some photos. And send us some photos of the game because I know what youth photos after the game are like, and I don't want to see them. I don't want to see the youth photos after the game. Somebody's getting in trouble. So just send us the photos of the game. Everyone's happy. Right. What else have we got to go through, mate?
The Scarlets 16s were in action last week, and they're in action again this week. We had Scarlets West travel to Dragons Red, winning 33-14. And we had Scarlets East head to Ospreys East and picking up another win, 21-7. So 2 away games, 2 away wins. Now it's looking good. And on to this week now. Tonight, 1st of March, Scarlets West are hosting Cardiff North. And on Sunday, Scarlets East are hosting RGC.
So tonight's game is at Tenby, isn't it?
I believe so, yes.
I'm sure it's at Hayward Lane. So that'd be good. It'd be good to see a couple of local boys getting a bit of a run out there again. Anything else that we need to cover?
Lastly.
You're sure now, Alice?
Yeah, I'm sure. We're into the county 15s, the doer sides. And we've got a fair few fixtures to cover this week. We got MMAD who are in their final match away to Bridgend, and they win this game, and I think they're through to the knockouts. We've got in the plate Llanelli at home to Cunnan Valley, exactly same situation. Win the game, and they very much, if not through, they literally only a point off, and they've got 1 game left. Mm-hmm. Then we've got Ceredigion away to Swansea in the Doer Bowl. Ceredigion, they haven't won a game in this block, so there's not really much on the line for them. So just a run out for the boys and a good performance. And lastly, also in the bowl, we've got Pembrokeshire at home to the Vale of Glamorgan. And once again, a win there, and they should be through to the knockout. So, once we get confirmation of the venue and the kickoff time, we'll post it out there and we'll try and get everyone down to support the boys.
But that should be tonight, shouldn't it? It says 1st of March. So
when I spoke with Aled, he said it was the 3rd. So Friday night.
Yes. Okay, yeah. So they wouldn't have posted that. That's why I've not seen anything about it. Okay, that's cool. So hopefully should be a good weekend of junior rugby as well this weekend then.
A lot of junior rugby going on, some important stuff as well. So it's going to be really exciting.
Excellent. Lots to look forward to. Okay, are we done now with all the rugby? Have I missed anything?
I mean, we can add stuff in if you want, but no. I think we've done enough to clear the Pembrokeshire side of things.
Cool. Okay. On that note, then, we shall say farewell. we shall enjoy our rugby for this weekend. There's a lot of it going on. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I keep saying, hopefully we'll have a nice calm week. There'll be nothing in Welsh rugby to discuss next week, but I've given up on that, mate. We'll discuss Welsh rugby again next week, and hopefully we'll be doing it off the back of a Munster, a win against Munster, and some good scores to report for next week as well. So, yeah. And we're done, mate. All good.
We're done. Finally. With a long old haul this was. I mean, the WRU stuff dragged on a bit, but we got some positivities out there, and I look forward to doing it again with you.
Absolutely, mate. I shall see you again next week. Enjoy your rugby, and I shall catch up with you then. All the best.
And to you. Try, mate.
Bye. You have been listening to the Westerer is Besterer podcast from the Scarlet Supporters PEMS team. You can follow us on Twitter on Scarlet PEMS, find us on Facebook with Scarlet Supporters Pembrokeshire, or email us on scarletspems@gmail.com. And remember, West is best, but Westerer is Besterer. Cheers.
Sports Social Podcast Network.